Hello, friends, and welcome to Charlie's Creative Corner. I am very glad you could come and visit my channel today. I hope you're doing well. I am doing pretty good. Let's see here. It has been a while. It's been a month or so since I've done a video with you guys. It has been obviously busy. It's just, one of those things where things just keep kind of catching up with you, and you just don't get to things. And unfortunately, this was one of the things I didn't get to. But we're going to make up for it today. We're going to do something really cool today. So what's going on? Not a whole lot. Actually, a whole lot. I hope everybody had a good 4th of July holiday. I hope you guys had fun. I didn't really do much. There's an area here where you can go and see cannons being fired. It's kind of like a historical replica type of thing. And so I went, and my husband and I went and saw the cannons get fired, and that was really cool. It was really loud. I jumped like every time. First time I was like, oh my gosh, and then I was like, I'm not going to jump this time, and I did every single time. Even if you know it's coming, they're so loud. But it was really cool. There were people there. They were the people shooting the cannons were dressed in like Civil War regalia and stuff. So it was a really cool kind of thing. And we didn't stay out long because it's been so hot, and we didn't want to be out in the heat for very long. But that was kind of what our 4th of July was. We didn't go see the town fireworks, but we did have some neighbors in the neighborhood that had some really amazing fireworks, so we didn't really even have to buy any. So we had a pretty good 4th. We just kind of hung out and relaxed and enjoyed some festivities. I hope everyone had a great, safe, and happy 4th of July, though. What else is going on? Oh my gosh, it seems like so much has happened since I last did a video. It's summer, so we've been getting a lot of extreme weather, a lot of tornadic weather. Luckily, we haven't had tornadoes in our area, like over us or anything, but there have been some that have been really close by. So we've had some really bad weather, tornadoes, hail, things like that. So that's kind of been a bummer. Luckily, I think everybody was safe when that happened. But it's kind of just been a lot of extreme weather this summer so far. We recently went down to Fort Cody's that's nearby here, and just for fun, we were just kind of bored, and I was like, oh, let's go do something. And we went down and went shopping in a different town and stuff like that. But there they had something that I have been trying to hunt down for a very long time, and I will show you. Now, mind you, I did not make this, but I did buy it. It wasn't very expensive. Unfortunately, the person probably spent a lot of time making it, but I found some ghost beads. Now, this is a ghost bead necklace, and ghost beads are these little brown beads right here, and they're actually made from juniper berries. And basically, like if you live in the Southwest, there's a lot of juniper, even up in the mountains. I know there was a lot of juniper when I lived up in Colorado. And you can harvest these berries and dry them out, and then you take the berry part, you kind of clip it off of there, and then you'll have this little center, this little seed in the center. And that is the ghost bead. And this is a very important bead to the Navajo culture. And the story behind it is, I'm not really that well informed with the story behind it, but I know these are used for protection and to keep evil away and things like that. And my thing was, I just have been hunting them down, and I can't find any. You can't buy them. You have to go harvest them and do this yourself. At least I haven't been able to find any. So I was really excited about this, and it's absolutely just so beautiful. This is such a beautiful necklace. So pretty. So I was really excited about that. So that was kind of a nice little surprise to find that at the store. I thought I was going to have to go all the way down to like New Mexico or something for one. Luckily, I didn't have to. So that was kind of cool. What have I been doing? Oh my goodness, so much. Been doing so much. Besides working in the yard, I did plant some flowers, so I was kind of happy. I'm a little worn out from that. That was recently. I just did that a few days ago, and my hand is a little sore. I have carpal tunnel, so when I do some things that I'm not usually used to doing, my hands kind of pay the price for it. So my hands are a little bit sore today, so if I'm a little clumsy on video, I'm sorry. But I did plant wildflowers. It's a pollinator mix, has all sorts of wonderful flowers for the pollinators to enjoy. So hopefully they start coming up. You know, it was only a few days ago, so I don't have any little sprouts coming up yet. But hopefully, I hope I get to see some soon because we're getting closer and closer to fall. And if it doesn't happen soon, then it's probably not going to happen. Let's see, what else? I have done some beading, but it's not my standard beading. It's been something different that I've been doing. I've been working a lot with some three-dimensional beading, and I found some really great tutorials on YouTube, and I would give you the names, but they're all in another language. Like one's in Chinese, and they're all characters, so I have no idea what their real screen name is in English. So I just searched like 3D beading, and you can probably find some of these tutorials. But my mom, I was really late with her on a gift, and I made some roses, and this was my trial run of the rose, but I made a three-dimensional rose. Really pretty. This one's white because I think I didn't get beads until I knew I could make them, and these were just beads I had, and so that's my three-dimensional rose that I made. She loved hers. I made hers pink. Of course, she loves pink, and she loved it. So these were really fun to make. Three-dimensional beading is very difficult, so if you're looking into it, just try not to get frustrated with it and just keep trying, and you can probably get it. And then another thing that I've made recently is I made a little three-dimensional tiger. And this one was from the Chinese girl. And she does great three-dimensional beading. Her stuff is just amazing. I don't know how she does it. But she was using larger beads. And I actually used a size 8 seed bead for this one. Whoops, I dropped him. Hang on. And that was just because I wanted to make him tiny. And I want to make a bunch more little animals like this and maybe put him on the shelf or something. But he is just adorable. He's got little nylon film, Milo film whiskers. The word I'm trying to look for here. And that's actually what he was put together with. But I absolutely just loved him. He turned out so adorable. And this was not easy. This was really hard to do. So I'm going to keep trying at my hand at these cute little three-dimensional things. Because I really do. I like them a lot. I think they're really precious. So this is a little tiger guy. So precious. And that's some of the beading that I've been doing recently. And then the only other creation that I've been working on creativity-wise is I've been doing some embroidery, and not bead embroidery, just regular embroidery. I went to one of the thrift stores here, and they had a bunch of I don't know if you know what these are. They're the Aunt Martha iron-on transfers. And the guy basically gave them to me for like a nickel. And it was a stack of them. And so I was like, well, whatever, and I was telling my mom about it on the phone, and she was like, oh my gosh, I used to do those all the time. I would love to do those again. And I was like, well, I can send you some because I just got a bunch of them. So I sent her some patterns, and she sent me some flour sack towels. And so we're kind of embroidering together. It's kind of a long distance, in craft that we're doing together. I thought it was kind of cute because then she can do something creative, and it's something that we could kind of do together apart, if that makes sense. And so this one here is the first one I've gotten. He's almost done, not quite done so far. And that's this little guy, a little birdie in the rain. He's really cute. All I have left is these little, there's some flowers over here that I have to do. And you know, I was gonna write in Monday because they have one for every day of the week, and I do have those ironed on. I just haven't started them yet. But the one that I did, I had it at too high of a setting, and it ruined it, and I couldn't get it to transfer again. So I'm gonna leave the Monday off of there, and I'm just gonna do the ones that I have left. It's only gonna be like 6 of them instead of all 7 for each day of the week. But that's what I've been working on. You know, I like to switch things up a little bit. So it's always nice to kind of change the tune a little sometimes. You know, sometimes you get bored of the same old song, you know. So that's been kind of fun. But I have done other things in between, just little stuff, nothing major, nothing really, I don't believe, worth showing. The only other thing I can think of recently, let's see what else is going on. Trying to think, not much. I had a visit from my dad and my stepmother, which was really nice. They came up to visit, and you know, my grandma passed away it's now 2 years. And my stepmom has been kind of going through the house and finding stuff. And she brought some things up from grandma for me. And so that was nice. It was hard, but it was nice to get some things from grandma. She sent me these cute little dolls that she made, crocheted them. She crocheted the dolls, and she gave me one of those. And just a couple other little things, nothing major, but it's more sentimental, I think, than anything. So that was nice. We went out to lunch and just kind of visited and caught up on things. So that was a nice little surprise to have my dad and my stepmom come and visit. So it was good. It had been a while since I'd seen him. Last time I saw him was when my grandpa passed away. And, you know, it's never fun to get together with the ones you love when it's like under bad circumstances. So it was nice to actually see them when things weren't so gloomy, you know. When I went to this neighboring town where we went to the Fort Cody's, we went to one of the bookstores there. They had a really nice little used bookstore there. And I found a couple really cool books I was really excited about. And, you know, I'm a bird nerd. So one of them that I got was this birds. It's birds, their life, their ways, their world. Okay. And this is an old Reader's Digest book. And it has tons and tons of pictures and information on birds. And this looks like a great book. This book looks amazing. I haven't dug into it yet, but I'm excited to get into this thing. And then the only other one I got was, pardon me, Those of the Gray Wind, The Sandhill Cranes by Paul A. Johnsgard. And he's a local writer here in Nebraska. I've been looking for this book online, actually. I have had this on my list. I shop usually through like thrift books. And I've had this on my list there for like months, 5 months or so, and they just won't get it in. They don't have it. And I was really excited to find this. Great price. I think I spent $4 on it. And this is a really great little book about the Sandhill Cranes and their journey through Nebraska and up into the Arctic. And it's from the point of view of the cranes and also a little crane and some other little characters in there. And it's a lovely book. He has some of his own sketches in there. And the funny story is, in the old city I lived in, I used to work at one of the wild bird stores where they sold like wild bird seed and feeders and all that kind of stuff. And I actually had the honor of meeting this individual, and a really great guy. It was brief, but I do remember meeting him, and it was brief, but it was a great moment. So I'm excited. I've been working my way through all his books. He's got a lot of them out there. And I have one other of his that I'm also working on. But so far, this is a really great read. So I was excited about that. So just a few cool little things that have been going on. You know, it's been real hot, real humid, and really miserable. So I would like to be getting out more, but I haven't been. And, you know, I did have a couple weeks where I wasn't feeling very well. And so I really wasn't doing much, honestly. I was just kind of trying to recuperate. And I don't know if I got a little heat stroke or what it was, but I just really was not feeling well. And that's just it. It's so easy to get heat stroke. So everybody be real careful when you go out. If you start feeling way too hot, then go inside and cool off, because my husband's had heat stroke and it almost killed him when he was a kid. And so you have to be really careful. Be really careful. Heat can be a real bad deal. So just take care of yourself if you're out in the summer heat, and especially if you're working in it. We don't want anybody to get sick. But today, we're going to do some loomed bracelets today. Now, it's going to be a little different from what we would normally do. I have found a way to incorporate some leather lacing into my looming. And I also have some wonderful, absolutely beautiful, take my needle out of here, wampum replicas. And these aren't actual wampum beads. You know, wampum beads are going to be the purple and white shell. Well, who can afford that? Not me. They're expensive. They are not easy to get a hold of either. And so I have been using these kind of glass replicas. And these are smaller, shorter little ones. They're tinier little beads, but I do have little longer ones. So we're going to do it with, I think we might do it with both. Don't hold me to that. We're just going to kind of play it by ear today, kind of see where we're going there. But I can show you this right here is what we will be making. If I can get an angle on it. Kind of twisted my arm here, but they're really comfortable. Wonderfully comfortable to wear, easy peasy to put on, and really easy to make, actually. So we're going to be making some wampum beaded bracelets today. And the great thing about the way this is set up with the loom and the leather lacing is that you could use almost any bead. You don't have to use wampum beads. You could use, you know, like a round, like a 4mm bead, or you could use like any kind of shell bead, something like that. Like, just get creative, whatever you have. If you don't have wampum beads, you don't have to use wampum beads. That's the great thing about this pattern. Like, you could pretty much use anything that you have on hand. Now, I don't know about like small seed beads. I don't think that would work quite well, but you could use maybe like a size 6 seed bead, or like a crow bead, or something of that along those lines. Just whatever you got on hand, just get creative and kind of work with it. It doesn't have to be a wampum bracelet. That's just what I'm doing today, because that's what I got. And we can kind of go through that a little more as we get set up and stuff, and kind of see what else we could possibly do. So I'm going to get us turned around here, and we will get started on making our wampum beaded bracelets. All right, so first things first, we're going to need a loom. Now, you can use any kind of loom you want. Now, the leather lacing doesn't fit into these little tiny grooves, but that's okay. It'll still hold its place. So if you have a loom like that, like this, it's fine. Don't even sweat it. So you're just going to need any kind of loom. Any kind of loom that you got sitting around. Obviously, we're going to need some scissors. We're going to need some beeswax. And we're going to need some leather lacing. Now, I got white, and I just got mine on a spool. I got this at my local craft store in the leather work section. And I got white, which is what I used on this one, which I really like how bright and pretty that looks. And I also have black. I think I might work with black today. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. We'll see. Next thing you're going to need, obviously, is your beads. Now, like I said before and showed you before, this is the wampum replicas that I got. And the thing about this, though, is you can use, get this out of the way here, pretty much any bead that you can loom with. You could use, like say you had something a little bit longer. Ooh, don't want to spill my drink. That would be a mess. You could use like a hair pipe bead. You could use, these are little wooden beads here. You could use little wooden beads. You could use round beads. So pretty much it's all about how creative you want to get. Now, I would recommend something at least somewhere in the 4mm size. You don't want to go too small with these. You know, like these are little bicone beads. You could use a bicone bead, and you could mix it all up too. Another thing you could do is recently I got on sale a little collection of, like, they look like wooden beads, but they're actually, they call them old world acrylic beads. But even something like this, like the little flower that's flat, that would go really nice laying against the skin too. Or, you know, beads like this, you know, whatever you have sitting around, you do not have to use wampum beads. So just so you're aware of that, it's all about how creative you really are going to want to get. But today I am going to be using these. Now you'll also need a needle. I like to use the big eye needles that have the big gap in the middle of them. I can never get them open. That's my thing. But you'll see when I thread it. So you're going to need a needle. Beading needle of some sort. And I like the big eye needles because the thread I'm using kind of a thicker thread because the holes in these are quite large. You probably can't see that. But so I like to use something a little thicker and stronger. So so these are the leather lace is going to be our warp thread. So this is going to be our warp right here. And then, so we're going to need something to actually string it with. And on this bracelet here that I made, I just used a size D nymo thread. It's not a 0, it's a D, so it's a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger. But since I'm using the black today, I'm going to use this black thread here. And this is just a black warp thread. I hope it works. It might be a little flexible for it, but we will find out. Now, I have used this before to thread my beads onto my warp thread. So we'll start off. I'm going to show you how to load and warp your loom with the leather here. So I leave mine on the spool when I do it. I just use a big long piece. Okay, so I'm going to kind of undo mine a little bit. Okay, turn this air conditioner down. It's a little warm in here. Now, the thing about these bracelets is you don't have to do 3 rows. You could do 4 rows. You could do 5 rows. You could do 2 rows, make it smaller. You could even do 1 row where you'd only be using 2 leather strap pieces. Okay, you don't have to do the same size rows I'm doing. So if you want to do 1 row, you're only going to need 2 warp pieces of leather. And so with the 2 rows, of course, you know, you add another piece of leather for each row that you add. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do a 3 row. And so I'm going to need 4 rows of leather strapping. Now, hopefully I hope I can do this. Maybe I can bring it back a little. Hang on. Maybe. Okay, try that. Now, the key to this, obviously, this is your top of your loom. And I like to take mine And I'm kind of measuring because I want this tie to meet up kind of in the middle. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here. And then I just, make sure that your little, I don't know what you call these, your little rollers, make sure they're tight. And it doesn't matter if they're pointing up or down or whatever. That doesn't matter at all. And I like to make sure mine goes past the midway point. And I'm just holding on to it with my thumb down here. So I'm going to hold that there. And I'm going to make sure my leather is straight as I do this. You don't want it to get all twisted, because it can get twisted up. So hold it down nice and secure with your thumb. And then just bring it up, bring it down, and bring it back. And you're just wrapping this around the loom like that, okay? And again, and the key to this is to make sure your leather's not getting twisted. And I also like to try and kind of bring them together the distance I think it might need, but you can always adjust it. So we have 3. Get a little more leather here. And just hold on to it with your thumb. Make sure you're not twisting that leather, that it's not getting all tangled up. And let's see. Okay, I think I can cut here. I'm just going to cut. Okay, so try and bring them together down here. And kind of pull a little taut. You don't have to be like incredibly taut, but you want it tight enough to where it's not going to move around on you when you're beading. And then I flip it over, and you're going to have your first piece that you had that went a little over the center, and then you're going to have this piece, and you just want to tie those two together. And it doesn't have to be perfect because I like to keep it kind of in the center like that, but it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to cut this and use this as our closure. So I like to kind of keep it in the middle. Oh, I just stripped it. Hang on. That's another thing you gotta be careful of. Don't pull too tight on your leather. It'll tear on you. And then just give it a tie. It doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. And then we can kind of adjust our leather as we start to put our beads on. Now, kind of left a lot of stuff everywhere. Okay. So we got our loom warped. And like I said, remember, you can also do just 2 or 3 rows. You don't have to, you pick the rows, the amount that you want to do, that's up to you. And I also forgot to say that you're also going to need some kind of crow bead for your closure. Something that both 2 strands of that leather is going to fit through. Okay, so something with a larger hole in the center, because you're going to want to have 2 pieces of leather going through the bead. Okay, now we're going to get going with our beading here. I'm going to get myself some thread. Give that a snip. Okay, and I like to use a thread that matches the leather, you don't have to do that because, you know, good luck finding brown thread if you are using a more natural colored leather. I mean, maybe you could use a sinew or something if you wanted. I'm going to thread my needle here. I'm going to kind of get you in a little closer now. Now that we've got her all warped, we'll thread up our needle here. If I can find the proper, there we go. See, this is your big eye needle where it opens up like that. And that's nicer for your thicker threads. It makes it so much easier to get your needle threaded. And I forgot to put some beeswax on, but that's okay. I can do it after I get my needle on. Not a problem. So we'll wax up just gently because we just don't want tangles. That's the number one thing. The only downfall to this thread that I'm using today is it tends to twist very easily. All right, so we're all threaded up. Do not knot. Do not make a knot. Don't tie it on either. You don't need to tie it on. There's no need for that. Now I like to put a little piece of tape down to hold my loom for me. So I'm gonna bring you over first of all, and then you can see my cat got a hold of my tape and chewed it. So it kind of makes it hard to get some of the pieces off. I think I'm getting down to where the teeth didn't get to you so far. It was kind of really hard to pull it there for a minute. He got a hold of it and just went to town on it. And I'm going to put another little piece down here in this other corner just to kind of hold it secure. You don't have to do this. This is just something that I like to do. It just keeps it from sliding around on me while I'm working. There we go. Now, we got our needle threaded. We have our loom warped. We have our beads, and we're beeswaxed and ready to go. So what you want to do is you want to get your needle. This is hard to do with the camera here. And you want it to be coming underneath, right there, like that. And don't pull all the way through, just kind of to get enough going here. So you can leave a tail there at the other side of your loom. Now, it's just like regular bead looming. It's just a different medium is all. So I'm going to pick out my beads here. I'm going to do a black. Let me bring you in just a touch. Maybe see a little better. Okay, do a black bead, and we'll do a yellow. And we'll do a black. Okay, so I got my 3 beads on here. I'm going to string them on down the row here. Now you want to leave a tail that's long enough because you want to be able to weave that in and out again to secure it. So I like to leave at least a 6-inch tail. Now, I got mine here, and I'm going to figure out the space and distancing, our spacing, because the leather isn't quite holding it snug. So we're going to have to bring all these together a little bit. And that's the good thing about it, you can adjust it. So, and then just bring them in between the pieces of leather like you would regular looming. The first one's the trickiest because it's not tied on. But there you kind of get an idea of it there. And then you just make sure you're above this, leather and go through above the leather, go through, above the leather, go through, and that will be your first weaving there. And then I'm going to pull through just like that. And there's your first row of beads. Now this is your, sorry, bumping into you there. This is your bottom. That's your tail right here, okay? This one right here. And what I like to do, I'm getting caught on my stand, hang on, is I'm going to bring my needle back underneath like I normally would. So bring your needle back underneath in between like that. Bring it through. And that way you're ready for your next set of row of beads. But, so this one doesn't get in my way. I kind of like to just bring him down this direction and just kind of get him out of the way. So, we're going to do another row here. Like I said, my hands aren't working very well today. I'm kind of clumsy, dropping my needle. And I'm going to do 3 black. I don't know if I'll have enough black for this. We're going to find out. Okay, pull through. And then we want to line them up. See, like I said, you can do this with any beads you want to do this with. This doesn't have to be wampums. And then, like so. Remember, go above that leather and through the bead. Above the leather, through the bead. Like you would with regular looming. Just like that. And then pull through. There we go. And then we bring it back in between and under. And then I'm going to do a black. And we'll do a red and a black. That. And then pull through. That black's a little hard to see. I should have used the white, I guess. I'm sorry. But if you know how to loom, it should be easy enough for you. It's just a different warp medium is all. That. And then on the other side, make sure you go above. Like that. And then pull through. And I'll do a couple more rows with you and then continue on. And then I can show you how to do the closure. Here we go. See, look at that. I'm going to pull back through in between. I'm going to do a black. And we'll go with a white. And another black. Like that. Bring it down. I keep bumping I have to wrap my arm around the stand to get this on here, so I keep bumping into you. And then we take our, whoops, see, I'm dropping my needle like crazy today. Goodness. Go back on the top and through the beads. And pull it all through. Just like that. And I wanted to do a black there, so I have to take that out now. And if you ever need to take one out, say you made a mistake, it's simple enough. Take your needle off your thread and find your end here. There it is. See that there? It's kind of hooping out. And then you just pull it through. And that will loosen from the loom. And you can just pull your thread back through the beads and then take them off. So that's it's an easy fix. All right, got it fixed there. I just wanted all black beads there like that. So now I'm gonna go back under and through, and then I'm gonna do a black, and now our white, and another black. Now, mind you, you always want to make sure that you measure your wrist or friend's wrist, or if you want to make it 6 inches, 7 inches, whatever, so that it fits. You don't want it to be like hanging down like this. You want this is a better bracelet if it's kind of nice and tight and flush against the skin. So always make sure to measure, or measure whoever, if you're going to make one for a friend or a family or something, you want to make sure to measure or get their measurements for their wrist so that it fits them properly. And I know my measurement for me, so I don't have to worry about that, but just so you know, so you don't make it too short or too long. And that obviously it's just that simple. It's just like you would do with any other bead looming project. It's just about a different warp thread is all that is. So I'm going to finish off doing mine, and then I'm going to come back and I will show you guys how to do the finishings on it to tie it on to your wrist. So I will be right back as soon as I get the rest of my bracelet threaded here. Okay, so I did get my other bracelet done, but I did want to do this just to kind of give you guys an example of the possibilities with this style of bracelet. Now, sorry. For example, these are just some little wooden beads that I have right here. Okay. And then, what I've done with this is I've taken the beads. Let me kind of zoom in a little bit for you. And you can see how I've doubled them up on each row. Instead of using one, I'm just using two. Now, this is a possibility with any beads that you may have, that you can do this. This isn't, there aren't really limitations to this. You can use any kind of beads that you want to use with this. And, it's not the simplest method when you use two at a time. But once you get going, it's not too difficult. And it's a very great way to incorporate maybe some beads that you wouldn't normally incorporate into looming. Now, I'm just kind of showing you, it's just standard how you just go through the two instead of the one. And just like that to get your thread through. And I have a really long thread here, so I'm just gonna kind of slowly pull this through here. But I wanted to give you an example of what you could do. And this is just an example with the smaller beads. You could use larger beads. You can really it's just up to you what you want to do with it. So that's just an example of what your possibilities are when it comes to this style of looming. I'm going to move this out of the way, and then I'm going to show you how to finish off your bracelet. So I'll be right back. All right, so this here is my finished bracelet, and this is for my husband. So it's a lot larger than the one that I made for myself. So I'm going to show you how to finish off your threads here. So this one, where's our, let's see. Let me trim that. It's a little frayed at the end. I'm going to put my needle on to the thread here. Now this is, I had to reconnect. I ran out of thread, so I had to connect a new thread and put extra thread on. So that is this guy here. And I'll put this on here. So it's coming out of there, and I'm going to bring it up, and I'm just going to bring it through. Let me zoom in for you here. I'm going to just bring it through a couple of beads here. Maybe do that one. There we go. And just bring it on through like so. And then your thread's going from left to right here. I'm going to go kind of closer to this last bead, and I'm just going to bring my needle underneath that thread there. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can see that. So I'm going to bring that through that thread there, and I'm just going to knot. I'm going to do one knot here, and I kind of like to keep it close to this bead over here, because then it can be kind of tucked into that bead when it's finished. I'm going to do that again, like that, and kind of give it a tug, and then I'm going to go through this bead here, and I'm going to give it a good tug, and that knot will be hidden into the bead. So it's kind of hard to see. Try and get some more light over here. I'm going to do that again, and I'm just going to go into this bead here, bring it through. I'm going to go close to this blue bead and do a standard loop knot there. And I get all tangled up in myself here. There we go. And again. And that was my one that I replaced the thread with that I ran out of thread. And I'm going to bring it through, remove my needle, and I'm just going to give that a snip. Make sure I got the right thread. I almost snipped the wrong one. There we go. And that you're going to want to finish all of your threads like that. And I'm going to finish this one here. And you can also do your beginning thread. I'm gonna pause real quick and do this one, and then I'll show you how to do the one that you started, that we started at the beginning with. And I do that one just a little bit differently, so I will be right back. All right, so I got the two up here that I needed tucked away and secured. And I'm sorry, it got kind of cloudy out, so it's not as bright as it was when I started. So it might, whoops, bumping into you there. It might be a little harder to see. So basically, I'm going to move this up here, and it can be a little bit tricky to move it. It's a little different, but we're going to move this. I'll move this up just a little so I can see what I'm doing here. There. Okay. Now I'm going to take my thread, and this is our starter thread. So this is where we started off. This was the tail that we left when we started our very first row of beads. And I'm going to thread that up here, if I can find my opening to my needle here. I always struggle with this. I don't really have a lot of fingernails. I don't do well with longer nails, so I play piano, so I've never been able to have long fingernails, and so I kind of struggle with this a little. All right, there we go. So let me bring you in, and hopefully you can see this. Now, focus, honey. There we go. So you see how the thread is coming out right here, okay? But it's coming out from the bottom. So I want that thread to come up over. Now, if the thread's coming out of the top, I like to bring it through the bottom first and then bring it up. It's just something I do. You don't have to do that as long as we have it nice and secure. But the ends I like to make sure are really secure because we are not going to be tying off here where you usually would with loom work. So I'm going to bring my needle through this first row of beads. I'm going to just bring it all the way through. I'm not going to knot this one yet. I'm going to bring it through this first row, working left-handed there, so it's a little awkward. And that way, at least our beads aren't going to fall off. And line it up nice. And then just kind of give it a gentle tug. Now, I'm just going to go over to the neighboring bead up above it, like so. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring it through, and then I'm going to come close to this neighboring bead, like that, and I'm going to do my knot. I'm going to do just a double loop knot here. And I like to try and get that knot close to that bead. So when you pull your needle through, that bead's going to get tucked inside that, or that thread's knot is going to get tucked inside of that bead. So we'll go through with that again and give it a little knot. And then I'm going to come through. You probably can't see the knot. That black, it's hard to see, but the knot's right there. Kind of a tiny little fella. So we're gonna go through these two like that and give it a gentle tug. And now, I don't know if you can tell, but the knot is gone. It hides the knot. And I'm just gonna do that one more time on the row above, because I want this nice and secure. It's for my husband, and he might have some hard wear and tear on it. And that way we know that our end's going to be nice and secure. Like that. It's it ends up finishing it nice because you don't see that knot. There we go. And then I'm going to go through these two to hide that knot. Give it a little tug, and you'll kind of feel a little bit of a kind of a snap when that knot gets into that bead there and gets hidden. And cut it nice and close. There we go. And so there we have our finished bracelet, or finished loom part of the loom. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over, and I'm going to take my leather scissors, actually. It makes it a little easier, and I'm just going to cut that right off of there, just like that. And that removes it from the loom. And then we're stuck with something kind of like this, okay? Get this loom out of the way. Now, to finish it off, I'm going to take this knot off here. At the end, there we go. And the key to this is very important, because when it's finished, you're going to have your beads on here holding it for your closures. But you have to make sure that the person can get the bracelet over their wrist in order to put it on. So you're going to need a little bit of fringe here. There's going to have to be some fringe. So I think mine weren't very long, but this is for the husband. I'm going to have to measure him. Now, to kind of prep for our, let me kind of even him out, prep for our crow beads, we're going to kind of, and I wanted to tell you, you could also use pony beads if you have pony beads for this. For my one that I'm using with the wooden beads, I actually had some of these. I think they're little bone beads that I got. I don't know where. And I'm going to use those for my closures on that to go through the leather. So any kind of bead that you can find that's going to have a larger hole for those 2 pieces of leather to get through is perfect. You want something that's going to be snug. You don't want it to be really loose. You want something that's going to be kind of like, there's going to be a little friction when you pull on it to secure it. Because if it's loose, it's just going to, over time, kind of slide as you wear it, and it's going to come off. So you want something kind of snug with the leather. Now, I'm going to take my ends of my leather, and I'm just going to, get out of the way, I'm going to do a little trim and kind of make a point. So it's easier to get the beads onto the leather. And that's just to get the beads on. So we're going to just kind of add a little bit of a point to our leather ends. And it helps to get the beads through because we're doubling it up and it's going to be kind of a tight squeeze. So kind of do that on all of your ends. Try not to cut my fingers off here. These are really sharp scissors. I have to be careful when I use these. Just like that. What I like about this one the most is the closure. I love the bead closure on here. It's super easy to put on, and it's really easy to put together and finish. It's an easy way to finish it. And it makes it really easy to put on. So if you live alone or don't have anybody to help you put jewelry on, it's a really great way to put jewelry on. So I debated on using different colors, but I think I'm going to go with the black because this is masculine. And so you have your bracelet here, and I don't think it really matters which end or which side. Mine, I'm going to go kind of with more smooth side of the leather. So you're going to want to take one end, take one of your leather straps on one end, and then take the same leather strap on the other end, okay? And then you just kind of stick them together. And then find the bead you want to use. I like to find ones with kind of tighter centers where it's going to be a little more snug. And then just stick it through and put it on like that, okay? And you're going to want to do that on every single one and make sure that they're the same because this is all one strap. So make sure that it's the same strap of leather that you're connecting here. Like that. Get bead here. And you'll kind of feel some, like I said, a little bit of tension as you're putting it together. And another one here. Maybe. And see, having those points, it really helps it to go in. It helps it go in really easily. Because you want it tight, because this is holding on your bracelet. And, you know, I like to make sure that my leather is straight, that it's not twisted. Like, you know, you don't want it to be twisted up because it's probably wouldn't be so comfortable to wear twisted up like that. So I like to make sure mine's straight. Plus it looks nice and clean that way. And then get that on there like so. This one might be too small for, no, maybe not. That's perfect. And so that is kind of I'm sorry, the goings here. I have to go get my husband so I can see how much space I have to work with to put it on his wrist. So I will be right back. All right, I got my hubby here, and we need to make sure that we can, put this over his hand, and then it'll go over his arm. And so I'm going to measure. Put your hand out there. Put your hand out. There you go. Just leave it right there. What size we got going here? And I just put the hand out, and then as I'm doing it, I will bring these down and kind of see what I got to work with as far as space for being able to get his hand in and out of the bracelet. Now, will that be able to go over? Do you think it could use more space or less? More or less? A little less? Okay. So I'm going to go, I'm just going to move these, your hand here, up a little. Now, try and put that on there. Is that too much? I think that's about perfect, eh? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so now we know the length of what our, of what our bracelet needs to be. And that's vital to this, because if you make it and you cut your fringe too short, they're not going to be able to get their hand through the bracelet to put it on. So that's very important that we know where we can put our fringe. And you're going to have fringe on this. It's just how it's going to have to be. So I marked it by moving the beads where it fit to go over his hand. And that's a good way of doing it, is just move your beads where it needs to go. So I'm going to take my, let's see here. I'm going to actually, let's measure that. It seems like so much more than mine was. And I don't have it even either. So I'm going to measure this real quick. I think it's going to have to be 2.5. Might do 3. I think I'm going to do 3. Because if we cut those the wrong length, we're in trouble, right? So I'm thinking probably about 3 inches on there. Okay, I just wanted to double check with him. Now I didn't quite have it centered, so always try and make sure that it's centered. And by centered, I mean the 2 ends are meeting up. Instead, I had mine like kind of the end was way up here, so I wanted to recenter it and make sure that we were where we needed to be. And we are. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to cut this yet. I'm actually just going to tie some simple knots into it. Okay, and I'm just going to tie close to the bead where I know his it'll fit on his hand, like that. I'm just going to do that on every one of these. I'm actually going to do just one on each of these, and then we will go from there, because we want to make sure that we have it somewhat even. That's the key, is to make sure that they are even. So I'm just tied the one to kind of give me a gauge of where I'm going. And I'm going to move these beads up a little, kind of get them out of my way. Now, I'm going to take and I'm going to knot the rest of these leather straps here. You can figure out what direction I'm going. And these knots basically are going to keep the bead from falling off. You don't want your bead to fall off when you're putting it on and off, or taking it off and on. And just kind of try and knot it, line it up as best you can. And you're going to want to do that on every single leather strap here. And that way it's guaranteed that we will not lose our bead clasp, because they can slide off of there and we don't want them to slide off. So be cautious though when you are knotting, that it can tear the leather, and you don't want that to happen. So be very gentle while you do it. Don't use a lot of excess force. There's no need to. Leather tends to hold quite well. So I like to actually tie a little higher up, kind of like that. And then I will pull it down to kind of tighten it. It helps to tighten it, just kind of pull it down. See, then we have our knots, and we can tighten them after we get them all tied too. And just take a second here. Now you can add more than one bead if you wanted. You could add a few different colored beads if you'd like. You could, you know, put a couple of beads here instead of one, and then they could hang down with the knots. It might make it harder to put it on, and you might need a lot longer of a fringe. You can have the fringe as long as you want. It doesn't have to be snug like I'm doing. You could have it really long. You know, you could keep it this length if you wanted to keep it this length. It's entirely up to you. Whatever style that you prefer, or you think whoever you're making it for would prefer. To me, I kept mine a little shorter, like this one here, because I, wanted to wear it to work, and I didn't want to get caught up on things and have it get broken or ruined or anything, or get, tangled. So I liked mine a little bit shorter. And, if it was something you were going to wear, something more fancy, you could make it even like longer fringe on there. And, it's just your preference, whatever you want to do with it. It's entirely up to you. And let's see, we got one more knot here. It should be pretty close lined up here. Sorry, I didn't know you were so zoomed out. Did that one you were measuring. Okay, now I'm going to go through and tighten, because I think they look good where they're at. Just going to kind of tighten all of them down a little bit. Like I said, don't pull too hard, because you don't, like when I started, when I was putting the warp on and it tore on me. You don't want that to happen, because then all your hard work goes down the drain. Okay, so there we got that. Now it's going to be as simple as just trimming the leather on the ends. I'm going to hold these two pieces together, and I like the catty corner trim, and I'm just going to give it a little trim. I'm going to do that on all these here and shorten it up a little bit. I can get a hold of it. There we go. And that is our bracelet. Now, over time, the leather is a little bit tight. It's a little tough. And over time, that leather will soften, and the fringe will lay a lot easier and kind of be a little more flexible. It's brand new leather, so it's going to be a little bit tough. But over time, as you wear it, it will lose that toughness, and it will loosen up. And so, to put it on, you just stick it over your wrist like that. That's why you got to make sure it can fit to slide it over. And you just push these up like that. And that is how you put it on. It's really easy to put on. And like I said, remember, you don't have to use wampum beads. You don't have to use the crow beads. It's just a way to show. You could even probably use like a leather cord if you wanted, like leather cording instead of leather lace. It's entirely up to you. So it's about basically about how you want to do it and how creative you want to get. And that is how you make the leather warped wampum bracelet, basically how to make the wampum bracelet. But like I said, if you use other beads, we can just call it a leather loomed bracelet. I hope you guys enjoyed my video today. I hope you guys can make your own. These are really cool. They're really comfortable to wear, really fun. So give it a try and see how it goes. And feel free to leave any comments or questions if you have any. And please please subscribe. I really appreciate it. And I did want to give a shout out to all my subscribers. I have gained over 200 subscribers now, and that is amazing. And I just wanted to thank everybody for supporting my work and coming by and being here. And I really appreciate all of you. So I'm really thankful that you guys are coming by and, enjoying my videos. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one today. Hopefully it doesn't take me so long to get another one out. You guys, thanks for coming by. Take care. Hope your week goes well.